Shalom. I'm Rabbi Davidovich, speaking to you on behalf of the webyeshiva.org, speaking to you from Efrat, Israel. I'm going to discuss one thing in this week's Parsha, which is Parsha Ekev. In this Parsha, we have the second paragraph of the Shema Yisrael, the paragraph Ohay Im Shemoah. And there's a very interesting statement in there. It says, Hishamru lachem, v'yiftel levavechem. So watch yourself, lest your heart turn aside, v'sartem, and you turn, v'avatem elokim acherim v'shtavisim lehem, and you serve foreign deities and bow to them. You serve idols. As a young child, I was with my father in the study of Rabbi Teitelbaum, the Satmar Rebbe. And he asked the question. He said, what does that mean? All of a sudden you're a religious Jew, you're keeping all the mitzvos, and boom, the next minute you're serving idols. How does that happen? And he said his answer was, Vasartem means turning ever so slowly. At first you do something and it doesn't seem like you do anything bad, and you keep doing it, and before you know it, you've completely turned to worshiping, God forbid, idols. I had a difficult time understanding, even with that, how that happens. I mean, what does one have to do to be in this category of Vasartem? And this week's Parsha gives me an answer to that. And the very first words of this Parsha are Ekev tishmu'un es hamishpatim ha'ela. You shall listen to these statutes, Ushimartem v'asisim osem, and guard them and do them. And then V'shamra Hashem lokecha lecha es hachesed asher nishbal b'seh. Then God will do kindness to you that He promised to our forefathers. The word Ekev really means heel. The heel of one's foot, the heel of one's body. And Rashi explains that what this means, it refers to those commandments that we tread upon, we walk upon, we treat them so lightly, they're not important. He says, the Ekev, and he says that concept of not treating the mitzvos as they should, that's what the Torah is warning us about. And I thought even further. What does that mean? How do you? Again, I don't know what this means. The minor commandments. How can you treat them differently? Either you're doing the commandment or you're not. But what's this differentiation between a light commandment and a hard commandment? And the answer is brought by the Netivot Shalom, where he quotes the Ramban, and he says, you look at the letters of the word Akev, Ayin, Kaf, Veit. Those first letters can be turned around to spell Kadesh Atzmacha B'mutar. Make yourself holy with that which is commanded to you. And that's the commandment we're given in the Torah and other places. It says, Kadoshim Tiyu. After the chapter of immorality in Parsha, in the Parsha about immorality, Achrei Mot. And he says we have to look at these mitzvahs, that we shouldn't, when we're doing any mitzvah, we shouldn't be a novel b'shus haTorah. We shouldn't just doing something rotely and not giving it the proper respect and intention. And what he says, even in things that are permitted, we shouldn't just work to fulfill our desires. And he says, therefore, he says, where it says after the enumeration of eating improper foods, the prohibition to eat improper foods, the Torah tells us, "V'yiskadishtem v'yisem kadoshim." You shall be holy, and you should make yourself holy. And that's it. That's the command of Kadesh atzmecha b'mutar lecha b'inyeni machalos, as the Rambam says. That's a command of making yourself holy with regard to those things that you are permitted to do. In other words, you're permitted to eat permissible foods, but don't do it like a glutton. It says even these things that are permitted, you should eat with holiness. You should do everything with holiness. And he says, it's not a question of violating a command that has a penalty, but it means that you have to be careful to bring everything close to a level of loving God and serving God. And he says, when you sanctify yourself out of the greatness of the love of God, then this is what you're doing. You're fulfilling the will of God, as it says. It says, "V'hoya Ekev shtishmon." The sentence, the parsha begins with the word v'hoya, and v'hoya, the letters of v'hoya, spelled Yismechu Hashemayim v'Sogel Ha'oretz. The heavens will be happy, and the heavens will sing. He says, this is the great simcha, the great joy that goes to heaven when you are careful of the seemingly minor mitzvahs. And also it says, after the enumeration of the immorality that you should stay away from, the Torah tells us, "Kamasa eretz Mitzrayim lo sa'asu, v'chamasa eretz Canaan lo sa'asu." Don't do like the Egyptians did, or like the Canaanites do, the land that you're about to go into. He says, why is it saying that? The Torah has already listed all the prohibitions, so what is added by these words of don't do like the Egyptians do, don't do like the Canaanites doing? And the answer that the Davidovich brings down is, this is talking about those things that are permitted. You shouldn't do them as an Egyptian would, as a non-Jew would, as a Canaanite would, as somebody who has no concept of God would do. Just do it for your own service, your own self-gratification. But everything that you do should be in Kedusha. And the Beis Aharon says that Hoya Ekev Tishmun, this word Hoya, as I've said, is a lashon of simcha, of joy. And this sentence is telling us, he says, that we have to think about and rejoice in every single commandment that we're fulfilling. And even if it's a, quote, a small mitzvah, a mitzvah that you don't think about much, something like your heel. He says, you have to, every person, he says, Shetzorech kol adam shir eslo kol mitzvah, every mitzvah that the person does, regardless of how great or small it seems, should be done with great intensity and great thought at the time you're doing it, because that brings you up to the highest parts of the world. And every mitzvah that you do, these are lights that light up the world without any limit. So the message that we have from this, and the very important message, is when we are doing anything, do it l'shem shemayim. When you're eating to serve God. When you're working to serve God so you can make parnasa for your family to be able to follow the mitzvahs. When you're doing anything, you can raise it to a higher level. When you go to a ball game and there's thousands of spectators there and they're getting so excited about a play, think about how you can take that energy to serve God. Kadesh Atzvah Mashim L'Tzorlecha. Thank you for listening. On behalf of the webyeshiva.org, wish everybody a Shabbat Shalom.